The Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting on Friday didn't yield any concrete agreements. Keturah Brown relieved as interim Secretary General of Justice. And Minister of Public Health hosts virtual meeting on the current impact of COVID-19 with AMI. Those are the headlines from Monday, August 17th, 2020. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you this evening, so let's get started. In our first story, Minister of Public Health, the Honorable Richard Panaflek, hosted a virtual meeting earlier today on the current impact of COVID-19 with AMI, the Aspen Medical International team, Dr. Kiarash Murkia, MD, who is the trauma and critical care surgeon from Las Vegas working with AMI, Ms. Kimberly Millican, who is the project manager of the AMI team, and Mr. Andrew Walker, MD, who is the executive chairman and the co-founder of AMI. The theme of the meeting was the current impact of COVID-19 and moving forward together. In this broadcast, you will now hear from the Minister of Public Health on St. Martin, the Honorable Richard Panaflek, Dr. Kiarash Murkia, the trauma and critical care surgeon from Las Vegas, who is working with AMI, Ms. Kimberly Millican, the project manager of the AMI team, and Dr. Andrew Walker, the executive chairman and co-founder of AMI.
As of August 16, the Ministry of VSA was informed that we are currently at 193 active cases and 107 persons who has recuperated so far. As we continue to observe an increase in the amount of active COVID-19 cases, government is urging all members of the community to actively do their part by following the mandatory regulations implemented in order to flatten the curve and reduce further spread of the virus on St. Martin. I would like to remind all that decreasing the spike in positive cases is dependent on the behavior of the members of the community. I will continue to stress the importance of wearing your mask, properly covering your mouth and nose, practice social distancing of 2 meters, avoid social gatherings, and wash and sanitize your hands frequently. In a continued effort to control the spread of the virus, government will continue to monitor the statistics and implement measures we see fit to flatten the curve and reduce the spike in positive cases.
Again, I'm Kiarash Murkia. I'm one of the surgical critical care physicians working currently with AMI, and we have been here since April 8 and caring for COVID-19 patients. Our patients we take care of are mostly critically ill patients who come in with multiple diseases and profound pneumonia with COVID-19 virus, and we care for them. And the good news is that so far we were able to make these patients better, and we have had a surge of few increasing numbers of COVID-19 over the past 2-3 weeks at St. Martin Medical Center as well as on the island. And we're the main team taking care of all these patients. And as Minister Panaflek mentioned, there have been 193 recently diagnosed COVID-19 patients, and out of those 193 patients or recently diagnosed people with COVID-19, only very, very few, a handful of them have been admitted to the hospital, and we have been caring for them.
First thing I'd like to say to everybody is that the government of St. Martin have been planning for a long time now to make sure that everybody is kept safe on the island. They've taken every prudent course of action possible, and they have really prepared very well. I'm very proud of the team effort here, the team effort of my staff at AMI, SMMC, and also the government teams. All together, we can make sure that as this virus does affect the island, the impact will be as minimal as possible. But all I can say is thank you, Minister. You've done a wonderful job in preparing the island, and I'm looking forward to this having as least impact as possible.
And in news now out of French St. Martin, as of Wednesday, August the 12th, 2020, French St. Martin has recorded an additional 13 COVID-19 cases, which has brought the active cases to 54. 2 of those cases are in hospital, one in St. Martin, one in Guadeloupe, and 52 are isolating at home and are being monitored. This brings the total number of confirmed cases by polymerase chain reaction, the PCR tests, on French St. Martin since the epidemic began up to 109. According to the August 8 to 14th bulletin, some 49 persons have, however, recovered. The latest figures are a result of the continuing testing campaign in the districts. Agence Régionale de la Santé, ARS, very much regrets the death of 2 patients, increasing the death toll to 5. Since August the 8th, some 551 PCR tests have been carried out in the community or at the Louis Constant Fleming Hospital to bring the total number of tests done to date to 2,321. The figure of the 2,858 tests that was done, that was mentioned in last health bulletin, was an error. And now in news out of Curaçao, and in the COVID-19 update out of Curaçao, the 34th case was already in quarantine. The person who tested positive for the coronavirus on Saturday last, August 15, 2020, was already in quarantine after returning from Aruba on August 3rd. During that period, the man previously tested negative. Epidemiologist Izzy Gerstenbluth does not expect more people to become infected. The chance that this man has passed on the virus to others is minimal. The man was retested after developing symptoms of COVID-19. He has been in isolation at home since Saturday. The man traveled back to Curaçao on August 3rd, 3 days before the Curaçao government classified Aruba as a high-risk country due to the explosive increase in the number of infections. The Epidemiology Department of the Ministry of Health, Environment and Nature, GMN, has an overview of who has been in contact. The traveling companions, family members, and friends. These people are under surveillance and are being monitored as well. A PCR test was to be taken from the traveling companions of the infected persons. Gerstenbluth said that Sunday was the 13th day of the 2 weeks that the quarantine lasted. And in more news out of the Netherlands, the Kingdom Council of Ministers on Friday didn't yield any concrete agreements. Nevertheless, the plenipotentiary ministers of Aruba, Curaçao, and St. Martin were positive about the outcome and remained cautiously optimistic about the negotiations with the Dutch government. There was room for dialogue, said St. Martin Minister Plenipotentiary René Violinas after the meeting. Unfortunately, the counterproposal of the St. Martin government to the Dutch demand for the establishment of a Caribbean reform entity in the form of a kingdom law received no support in the Kingdom Council of Ministers. The St. Martin counterproposal gives Aruba, Curaçao, and St. Martin a larger role and say in the Caribbean reform entity with a greater comprehension for the local circumstances of the countries and the possibility for differentiation between them. We were heard. Our proposal did not carry, but the room to continue the dialogue exists to come to some sort of understanding with the Ministry of Home Affairs and Kingdom Relations, BZK, said Violinas. According to Violinas, the Netherlands was not deviating very much from the package that it presented a few days before the July 10th Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting, but we will do what we can to get them to see our standpoint, and hopefully, eventually, we can reach a consensus as a kingdom. Violinas said that he was hopeful about reaching a consensus before the next Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting on September the 11th. It is about getting the Netherlands to understand that there are elements in the package in the proposed kingdom law that are unconstitutional and that conflict with our autonomy and our ways of working. We want to continue talking and see whether we can find common ground. Aruba Minister Plenipotentiary Gilfred Bessarel said that it was a good meeting. We managed to keep the dialogue going. Keeping the channels open is essential for the negotiations, he said. He also said that he reiterated during Friday's meeting that Aruba's position is different from Curaçao and Sint Maarten. Aruba is much farther in the negotiations and closer to reaching an agreement with the Netherlands. It is just as in a family. You have different children whom you cannot all treat the same, said Bessarel. According to Bessarel, Finance Minister Wopke Hoekstra and Undersecretary of Home Affairs and Kingdom Relations Raymond Knops have the mandate that they can sign off on disbursing the third tranche to Aruba in case an agreement is reached before the September 11th meeting. Curaçao Minister Plenipotentiary Raymond Begina agreed that it was a positive meeting. There is room to continue the negotiations in a constructive manner from both sides. He said that there was comprehension from the point of Curaçao's government. My feeling is that it went well. Now we need to use the time well to reach an agreement before the next Kingdom Council Ministers meeting on September 11th. Undersecretary Knops did not use the words hopeful or optimistic after Friday's meeting. We are talking, he said. Today we concluded that Sint Maarten has not met the requirements for the second tranche. Curaçao is close to fully complying and was given an extension until the 1st of September. Aruba has already met all the conditions for the second tranche liquidity support several weeks ago. Asked about the status of the negotiations, Knopp said that frequent talks have been taking place in the past weeks with all the three countries and that these will continue, but the package of July the 10th will remain. The point of departure in these talks, he said, that the counterproposal by Sint Maarten regarding the Caribbean Reform Entity was so far off from the Dutch proposal that it was put aside. The Undersecretary said that as a country providing the loans to help Aruba, Curaçao, and Sint Maarten through the crisis, the Netherlands had the right to be strict. We give the loans, and that means that there must be supervision. We are talking about a prolonged period and a lot of money. Knopp said that the package did not only contain cost-cutting measures and increased supervision, but also much-needed investments in the island's economy, their law enforcement, public health, and educational system. The packages are in the interest of the residents of the islands, he emphasized. The Undersecretary did not want to speculate on the outcome of the negotiations. We will continue talking. I assume that the talks will eventually lead to results, but when and in what form, I cannot say. I am a bit cautious to anticipate on a result. And still to come, TALEM CEO virtually attends the Kanto COVID-19 Task Force Conference. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Minister of Education Dr. Anders Rodolph Samuel updates school boards in a letter dated August 16, 2020. The Honorable Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, Dr. Anders Rodolph Samuel, sent a letter to all private school boards and subsidized schools that fall under the Division of Public Education regarding the commencement of the 2020 2021 academic year. In his letter, the Minister of Education seeks to further clarify a number of pertinent matters in light of the commencement of the academic year and taking the global COVID-19 pandemic into consideration. The minister points out that it would be amiss of government and, in particular, the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, ECYS, if precautionary steps were not taken in order to protect the residents of the island and, in particular, the vulnerable ones in the community. It was against that backdrop that the Ministry of ECYS developed the Education Continuity Plan, ECP, which stakeholders in the field of education have contributed towards. The Education Continuity Plan was approved on July the 31st, 2020, and was published in the National Gazette of August the 12th, 2020. In being cognizant of the second wave of the COVID-19 on St. Martin with a steady increase of active cases, the ECP serves as a guide as to how to continue education while simultaneously ensuring that the health of the students and staff of the various schools on the island are not put at risk and or compromised, the Minister of Education writes in his letter. It was in light of the aforegoing, the minister continues, that I urged and appealed to you to begin the academic school year with distance learning in my correspondence to you of July the 31st, 2020. At the date of said communique, the number of active cases was 49, the minister noted in his letter. Taking such into consideration and the prognosis thereof, it was deemed critical that in the interest of public health, schools begin the school year with distance learning for a period of 3 weeks. It was never the intention of the Minister of ECYS to close schools, the minister states. And in other news for you at this time, the Minister of Justice, Anna Richardson, on Friday, August the 14th, dispatched a memo to the management team of the Justice Ministry informing them that as of said date, Keturah Brown has been relieved from the position as Interim Secretary General. Brown returns to her former position as head of the IBPS, Immigration and Border Protective Services. Brown was appointed by the then outgoing Minister of Justice and now Deputy Prime Minister Egbert Jurendi Doran. Richardson, in her memo, stated that a suitable St. Martin lawyer has been selected for the position, and this lawyer is presently going through the screening process before being officially appointed. News reaching SXM Daily News says that the selected candidate is former Island Government Secretary Amador Muller, who has been working as a consultant for the government of St. Martin on cases related to immigration. And in other news from French St. Martin, the gendarmerie registered another road fatality on French St. Martin roads when a young man was killed in a scooter accident in La Savane, Grand Cause on Friday afternoon. According to preliminary information from the gendarmerie, the accident was caused by a driver either not indicating their intention to turn left or not seeing the scooter, and as a result, the scooter crashed into the car as it was making the turn. Both the car and the scooter were traveling in the same direction towards Grand Cause from Marigot. Despite the intervention of emergency services, the young man died at the scene. SXM Daily News extends sympathies to the relatives and friends who are left to mourn. And back on Dutch St. Martin, at the Canto COVID-19 Task Force Conference, Canto Conversations, a CEO's perspective during COVID-19, which was held on Thursday last, August 6, 2020, TAILAM CEO, Mr. Kendall Dupersoy, was interviewed by Secretary General for Canto, Teresa Wankin. Ms. Wankin queried the CEO on how quickly TAILAM was able to get their network back up and running after major hurricanes. She wanted to know what were the driving factors in getting the network back up so quickly after such a devastating hurricane season.
But the main driving factor I always say was our employees, the commitment of our employees to get everything up and running as soon as possible. I mean, I was so, a lot of people sustained damage during Irma, but I was so surprised when they actually came into work You know, that's like 2 days after the hurricane passed, people came into work and we asked them, how are you doing? I was like, oh, I lost everything. And they were like, but, you know, I come to work. So I was very proud of the fact that they came into to work and be among their colleagues, because we like to look at Telem as a family. It's not only that you're just coming and working and leaving, but we like to look at it as a family. And that was definitely showcased after Irma. In conjunction with the employees, we were able to come with the technical staff, able to come to some quick decisions on how we want to get back the mobile network up and running as fast as possible. We lost almost all of our roof sites, but what we did a quick turnaround on the roof sites, and we were able to get temporary roof sites up in about 2 weeks, and had a probably about 80% of the island covered within that period. So that was very satisfying for us to have it done. And I must add again how people from across the spectrum of our departments were assisting with that. Technical people were doing the technical stuff, of course, but there was also people from commercial department, people from the finance department that were pulling cables, helping all the wires. People were coming in and cooking meals so that we didn't have to go home to eat. So it was really a challenging but very rewarding time for us here at Telem when it comes to that disaster.
And now, turning to our weather forecast for August the 17th, 2020. A fast-moving tropical wave located a couple hundred miles east of the Windward Islands is moving westward near 20 miles per hour and producing disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity. This rapid forward speed will limit its development while the system approaches the Windward and southern Leeward Islands today. Formation chance through 48 hours, low, 20%. Formation chance through 5 days, medium at 50%. Another tropical wave located over the eastern tropical Atlantic is producing disorganized cloudiness and showers. This wave is forecast to move westward to west-northwestward at 15 to 20 miles per hour over the next few days. Environmental conditions are expected to become more conducive for the development of a tropical depression during the middle to latter part of this week. Formation chance through 48 hours of this one is low, near 20%. Formation chance through 5 days is medium, 60%. So the outlook through Wednesday midday, fair to partly cloudy, hazy, and breezy. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, St. Martin Medical Center takes additional measures in light of the resurgence of COVID-19. We'll have the details of that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News. And in more COVID-19 related news, in light of the resurgence of active COVID-19 cases on St. Martin, the Outbreak Management Team, OMT, of the St. Martin Medical Center has decided to take additional measures in limiting the possible exposure to the virus and to keep St. Martin Medical Center care capacity at the highest level in case of confirmed COVID-19 cases needing admittance to St. Martin Medical Center and or its COVID facilities. As such, the following decisions have been made. Non-essential care, such as elective surgeries and certain outpatient services, such as high-exposure risk procedures, such as aerosol generating procedures, etc., will be scaled down. St. Martin Medical Center will, however, continue to provide essential care, critical care services, and will increase the teleconsultations. Persons interested in making appointments should call rather than coming to the hospital. In an effort to create additional isolation capacity for COVID care, in addition to the existing COVID facility located outside the St. Martin Medical Center, additional patient isolation rooms used during the first COVID surge will again be allocated for this purpose. This is done in case the need for additional COVID care arises due to a significant increase in COVID admissions that our outside COVID facility cannot accommodate. Patients' visiting hours have been suspended since late July. In the meantime, in the interest of public health and in an effort to minimize the transmission of the virus, everyone is reminded to wear their face masks in public, social distance when possible, avoid large gatherings, and practice proper hand hygiene. What to do if you have COVID symptoms? St. Martin Medical Center urges persons experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, such as fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headaches, loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea, or vomiting and diarrhea to call their house doctor or contact the CPS hotline at 914 or 542-1122 or 542-1222. Persons experiencing symptoms such as trouble breathing, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, new confusion, the inability to wake or stay awake, and bluish lips or face should contact the ambulance department by calling 912 and await further instructions. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for you this evening, this item out of France St. Martin, the Collectivité of St. Martin closed the services of the Solidarity and Family Delegation, the Social Center, located at Concordia on Monday, August the 17th, due to an agent from the pole who was diagnosed positive for COVID-19. The agent was placed in home confinement. The community carried out complete disinfecting of the premises and in compliance with the health regulations in force today, and as a precaution measure, other services of the community will also be disinfected in the coming days. A hotline was provided by the Solidarity and Families Delegation. The telephone number is 0590-291310. The delegation will reopen its doors to the public as of tomorrow, Tuesday, August 18th, at the usual times, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., and as a reminder, from mid-March, the Collectivité of St. Martin established a health protocol within its administrative services as part of the continuity of the public service with the provisions of masks and protective gloves to regional staff, soap and hydroalcoholic gel. Through its administration recovery plan, effective as soon as it is released from confinement, the community has established strict rules of physical distancing between agents and the public, thoroughly daily cleaning of the premises, as well as a special procedure for receiving the public are currently in effect until further notice. And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, August 17th, 2020. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.